Shavua Tov, everyone. Welcome to week number 79 in our Tillis Tells WhatsApp Saturday Night Stories group. I translated the story many years ago from the popular Hebrew weekly Sikat HaShavua, and subsequently I included it in my first book, Saturday Night Full Moon. Its mysterious title is Him, Not Him. And that there was this happened about the early 1900s. And there was a young Talmudic student who was exceptionally intelligent, smart, and brilliant in his studies, and as well as being very diligent. So he was well on his way to becoming a leading scholar. In the same town, there lived a group, a small community of Lubavitch Hasidim, and noting how special this Yaakov was, they were constantly inviting him whenever they made a trip to see the Rebbe that he should join them. And he always refused. What do I need a Rebbe for? I can understand everything in the Talmud by myself, and when I have a difficulty, so I go over it a number of times, I pray, and eventually I solve it. I don't need a Rebbe. But nevertheless, one week, for some reason, unknown even to him, he decided he would go along, see what it's like. So, and they went for Shabbat. And he enjoyed it, but he wasn't especially moved, but he enjoyed it. He wasn't regretting that he came. On Saturday night, he was told that as visitors from a distance, he and each member of the group would have an individual audience with the Rebbe to get a parting blessing, and that he should write a kvittel, that is a note with his name and his mother's name and any personal request or question that he had for the Rebbe. So Yaakov did this, and much to his surprise, he found himself anticipating having this private audience with the Rebbe. When it was his turn, he entered the room, and he saw the Rebbe, the very holy-looking person, sitting behind his desk. But the Rebbe didn't look up at Yaakov to welcome him. The Rebbe's eyes were down, looking at something, looking into a book. It's absolutely clear this was a Zohar, but Yaakov didn't know this at the time. He was looking in the book, and he didn't look up. And so Yaakov moved a little closer to the desk, hoping the Rebbe would notice him. But again, he took no notice of him. And so finally, he didn't know what to do. So he tiptoed up to the Rebbe's desk. The Rebbe still didn't acknowledge him, and he laid his note down on the Rebbe's desk and began to back out of the room. Suddenly the Rebbe stood up, still not looking at Yaakov, and began to pace back and forth in the room. And Yaakov heard him muttering to himself, and he was muttering in Russian. On, yet on, yet on. It's him, it's not him, it's him, it's not him. On, yet on. And he had no idea what was going on. And this was the strangest experience. And he just continued to back out of the room, and he went to ask his fellow villagers, his fellow townsmen, if anybody could explain to him the Rebbe's peculiar behavior. But nobody had the slightest idea what was going on. Months passed, and one day Yaakov saw in a local newspaper an advertisement from the University of Petersburg, the capital. And it was an advertisement, it was a notice from the mathematical department that they were offering a 300 ruble prize, and 300 rubles had extraordinary spending power in those days. They were offering a 300 ruble prize to whoever could solve this difficult mathematical problem, which was published together with the notice. Now Yaakov had no formal training in mathematics. He had a pure Torah background education, but he took this as a challenge, and he lightened his Torah studies schedule for a few days, and spent a number of hours on this problem, and he figured it out, or he thought he figured it out. So he wrote down his solution, and he mailed it to the university. Some weeks later, he received a response that he was the first one to have submitted the correct solution, so he was entitled to the 300 ruble prize, for which he should come to Petersburg. And there they included in their letter, in the envelope, was a train ticket, And he said there in Petersburg he would be welcomed by the chairman of the mathematics department and some other professors as well. When the train arrived at the university stop in Petersburg, so Yaakov alighted, and he was the only one to get off the train there. And so the professors that had come to welcome the genius who had solved their problem were quite confused. The only person that they saw was this religious Jew with his strange hat and a beard and knickers and strange hair hanging down over his ears, hair locks hanging down over his ears. But Yaakov introduced himself, and they were totally amazed. But as they began to discuss with him mathematics, so they realized that this was a natural genius, and they were very excited, and they offered him a full scholarship to a full 4-year tuition, all tuition and expenses paid, full scholarship to the university in the mathematics department. Now Yaakov understood that this was not appropriate for him to do, but he was very gratified with their praises and their interest in him, and he decided to do it. So at the beginning of the next term, he arrived at the university, and he was confident that he could still maintain his Torah and mitzvah lifestyle together with the studies. How hard could it be? And so he continued.